Okay, welcome back to the Lifted podcast. First, I want to give you guys a little bit of a disclaimer on this episode. So, we will be diving into some sexual assault. If that hits you hard, don't watch this. Turn it off. But if you guys want to learn a little bit more and you want to follow along, then stay here. So I have Sam. Thank you so much for coming on the Lifted podcast. Sam is, well, I met you on Instagram, kind of stalked you, kind of knew of you before, but then I was like, you have to come on the Lifted podcast because we need to hear more about you. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yay. So tell me, you were an athlete. Tell me a little bit about your athletic career because I feel like it was pretty intense when we talked last time. So tell us.
So I played volleyball all my life. Like I played for like over 15 years. And then thank you, COVID, I got to play an extra year of varsity. So I got 6 years of that. So I not only got to study like kinesiology, but I also got to study business in school as well. So volleyball literally took over my life. Like playing college volleyball is like having a full-time job while also like going to school. So that was pretty strenuous and like it allowed me to meet so many people. I got to go to all these tournaments across the country, which is really cool. I'm extremely grateful for all my time playing, but at the same time, like I'm really happy that now I have my next chapter. But it did allow me to like fully live the college life, like full on like varsity parties and like the social aspect. I got to dive into a lot of like major like college events, met a lot of people from all over the world. So volleyball like truly like is the reason why I got into like personal training, why I got into fitness, because it was through like my high performance training with that I was even able to like get into this. Like I thought I was gonna be a gym teacher my whole life. And then like through that I was able to actually find my true passion, which is personal training, fitness training in general. But yeah.
Were you a gym teacher?
No,
You weren't?
I actually applied for to be a gym teacher, like to be in the physical education program at MUN, and I like got rejected. And then, but I got into bioscience, so which is essentially chemical engineering, but it's based on a nutrition standpoint. But it was a harder program to get into. But I didn't get into being a gym teacher, but I got into science.
That?
Yeah, and then so I ended up spending some time at MUN, and then I actually like got cut from my first varsity program. Like so, I graduated high school in Newfoundland, and then I went to Memorial University. When I went there, I was like training the whole summer with the volleyball team, and then as soon as tryouts happened, got cut, and I was so devastated.
Oh my God.
But it was through that I actually started strength training. So it worked out for the better, and I needed to learn that lesson. And then that's where I ended up moving to PEI, and I went to UPI as well as Holland College, and that's where I like truly started my volleyball career.
Wow. So you were in that for how long?
At MUN?
Yeah.
I was there for just under 2 years.
2 years? Wow.
Yeah, so I was in the recreation program as well as in the nutrition program under the bioscience faculty, and then I was going to switch into kinesiology like that next semester, but then I ended up moving to PEI. The whole reason I moved to PEI was literally because my parents were like, we need to get you out of this relationship that I was in at the time, and then applied for some schools, and then we moved.
Wow. Okay, wait. So relationship that you were in at the time in college?
Yes.
Okay.
So we actually started dating when I was still in high school. Keeping in mind I have a December birthday, so I actually turned 18 in my first year of university, not my high school year.
Oh, so you graduated
like I was 17 when I graduated
17.
high school.
Okay, yeah.
So right. I turned, and in the East Coast, like Calgary's a little different because it's like 18 here, but the East Coast is 19, so I didn't turn 19 to being able to drink until my second year of uni, which really sucked. Yeah.
Wait, shut up, really? Oh my God.
And I turned 19 on a Wednesday, so like it wasn't like I was gonna go out or anything like that. Like all the bars were dead.
You're like, really? Of all the days, did you still go out?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It was in downtown Newfoundland, so it was some Celtic bar. It was like a dive bar. It was just playing like Newfie music, and it was a good time. But it was still Wednesday night, and I still had a 9 a.m. lab the next day.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And the kicker is the fact that I wrote a math exam on my birthday at 7 p.m. and I failed it.
You failed.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was like, happy birthday to me.
You're like, great. So nice. I did this. Yep. I did that.
Yep. So I was like, I had extra reason to drink tonight. It's fine. But yeah, so then, and at the time, yeah, so I was dating this guy, and so I was 17 and he was, I think he was 22 when we met. And then, so like, first off, like I was like, probably like, why is like 22-year-old like talking to someone in high school still, because we started talking like before Christmas, like of my last year of high school.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was kind of a thing. When you were in high school, like I remember girls in high school wanted to date older.
College boys. Oh my god. Yes. There's some
100%.
I blame
It was
One
a
Tree
thing.
Hill and stuff.
Oh yeah, One Tree Hill. Shut up. You watch that? Love that show.
Well, all those shows, like when we were growing up, when it was like 30-year-olds playing 16-year-olds.
Yes.
All those shows were always portraying like, oh, I'm like a college boy's interested in me. So we would admire that.
Yeah.
So I remember being in grade 12 and being like, I got this boy in university after me. But like looking back, I was like, that was so predatory. And like, what was wrong with him that he couldn't date in his own age gap, that he had to date a literal child?
Yeah. Especially 17. I think that if you were 18, maybe it would have been okay. But like 17, okay. You know?
Yeah.
So what happened with you guys?
We ended up dating for like years. It was not like healthy at all, in all fairness. And I was honestly, I just was not socially prepared. Like I thought everything that was in that relationship was healthy. It was what love looked like. This is what relationships should look like. But I just was so unprepared, and I didn't know the definitions to some basic rules in relationships. So then he like constantly crossed boundaries, and it came to a point where like there's been many times where like I would wake up and like he would be doing like sexual acts to me, and yeah, like with like, so I'd be like sleeping entirely passed out, and then I would wake up and like that kind of thing would be happening. So that's like a boundary I'm talking about. It's just basic sleeping.
Yeah. Multiple times.
Multiple times, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So like the worst time was like honestly, like it was just, I just remember like fully waking up and like what he was doing to me. It's just like I knew in my stomach like it was not okay.
Yeah.
And in all fairness, like I didn't even know it was not okay at the time. I didn't know what consent was. I didn't know actually the definition of what he did to me was rape. It was years later.
I was gonna say, like, did you know at that time, like when you were dating him? Because even like the fact that it happened multiple times, like you had no idea that was what was happening, essentially.
No, it's and like in all fairness, like, and I will like, in not all fairness, like I'm not justifying anything you did to me when I say this. I moved around a lot as a kid. I missed out a lot of educational points because I like bounced around school so much. I did miss out on a huge portion of my like my sexual health education. Like I found like I'd always just miss those units, or the school I went to just underfunded those programs. So I did find like between my upbringing and my education, like I was not educated on some of these definitions. And that is a core root problem that a lot of women have, a lot of people have, is the fact that consent was not taught to myself or not many others when we were in high school.
I was going to say, like,
Nothing.
even you saying, oh, I missed some of those times because I was moving. I mean, even if you weren't moving, fuck, they don't teach that, like, at all. Like, I would say in most schools. I mean, our school, like, even going through health and going through those classes, they were like, oh, this is your period, and this is a tampon. And it was all about women also. Like, nothing about together, or nothing about consent. There was nothing about, like I feel like we didn't learn any of that.
And honestly, like looking back, and as you say that, I'm even trying to think of like what I did take in. There was one health class, her name was like Miss Cole, and that was the only health class where she ever taught us like what sex was. She like taught us like what an orgasm feels like for women and for men. Like she's like, this is the sensation as to what it is. It is normal. It is healthy. It is okay. And then but I was only at that school for a semester. So like with this class, it was only like a semester where it's helpful. Like our first day of health class, we were literally taking drawings of like penises and vaginas and like drawing on them so we'd feel comfortable looking at them. So that was cool, but that was also one semester in like my 12 years. I wasn't taught what consent was. I wasn't taught what consent in relationships were, like, because everything I was taught growing up about what rape was based on Criminal Minds, and that is like extremely dramatic and tend to be aggressive. So compared to being in a relationship in this like situation with that partner I had at the time that was not treating me well and was constantly abusing me, was the fact that I thought it was okay because he was my boyfriend. I thought I had to do it because it was my boyfriend. And like, that's not the case. Like, even if you're in a committed relationship, consent is still consent. If I'm asleep, if I'm drunk, if I'm passed out, he still has to ask permission. He still needs to make sure that I'm in the state of mind that I can say yes to this, that I'm going to enjoy myself. because like, why would you want to do anything? That's what I don't understand. It's like, why would you want to do anything with someone who doesn't want to do it too? That takes all the fun away from it.
100%. It's like, yeah. Okay, going back to what you were saying about the only thing that we're really taught about rape when we were growing up is essentially the aggressive, like after it happens, they were basically murdered, which like crazy, but also the fact that we were never taught that it can happen with relationships. So how many times did this happen in essentially any relationship for you?
It's happened specifically with two separate partners multiple times between when it comes to like sexual assault between those two partners, but actual rape was twice.
Wow.
Yeah. And then like, so I've been raped 4 times in my life. So like 2 of those situations were with partners. But like I said, like I was only ever taught what aggressive rape looks like being pulled off the street. I was not told what it looks like from all angles. And that's something where it's like, I don't blame anyone in my upbringing. I think it's more of a societal sense is that we're so focused on what sexual health looks like from a man's perspective. It's that when it comes to women, it's just like, we don't know what everything is. Like the fact that one teacher told me what an orgasm was in health class in like, I think 9th grade, like that's crazy considering like typically like we're shunned to be quiet about our sexual health. And that goes on the positives and the negatives too.
Yeah, I know. I'm actually surprised that she would even talk about female orgasm. I was like, yeah, orgasm, probably dudes, for sure. Because even if you watch porn, it's all about the guys. 100%. Like, I don't care what you guys say. It's literally about the guys. And you're sitting here like, how are we ever supposed to see? Did you ever hear about, this is kind of related just to women's health.
Yeah.
They actually so these women doctors wanted to study hormones, and because males owned it, they were like, no, you guys aren't studying women, like you're not studying. I know. And I was like, oh my God, we would be so much more ahead if you guys would have let that happen. Yeah.
Oh my, well, it's the same thing with neurodiversity and ADHD. So like my brother was diagnosed at like 3 or 4 years old versus I was diagnosed at 24 years old. But it's because of the information and like the studies they did like back when like in the 90s, early 2000s were all based on men and boys, and like women's health was ignored. So it's it is getting better. Like from what like I'm especially in the kinesiology and like field, and as well as like I'm extremely interested in neurodiversity. Like I'm seeing more and more studies that are including women, which is really cool to see. But why am I 28 years old and getting diagnosed with autism?
Yeah, 100%. Like, why is it taking that long? Like, yeah. So, okay, so going back, when did you figure out that like what you were going through in your relationships was essentially sexual assault?
It was actually it was years later that I had
Really?
realized what had actually happened. Like I always knew something just didn't feel right, but I never knew what it meant. I actually specifically remember like I was in the high performance center at my college's gym. I was getting a workout in, and I was just scrolling through Instagram between sets. And there was attacks in Charlottetown at the time. Like, so people were sharing on their story, like, girls, be careful. Don't like, walk around on your own. Like, carry pepper spray with you. Like, this kind of stuff. And it was... So I reshared one of those stories to my page and be like, just trying to advocate, be like, watch out, girls. And my partner's sister at the time had messaged me being like, this is victim shaming, which is entirely true. It's not on me to not wear a skirt. It's not on me to bring pepper spray to ensure that nothing happens to me when I'm walking out like downtown. But I was trying to advocate for the fact that please be careful, because apparently this is happening. And Charlottetown, PI is pretty small, so you don't really expect a whole lot of crime to happen. But through that, she started explaining to me about like rape culture. And this was also during the Me Too movement. So this was like a huge summer for, and like a huge part of the year where like this is all that was in mass media was the Me Too movement. And through these messages and through like everything that was going on, all of a sudden a memory just clicked and unlocked. And I was at the gym, and thankfully I was at a private college gym, and everything just started flooding through my brain. Like had a full on breakdown, and I remembered what had happened to me, and I've been pulled off the street and raped before, like by a stranger, and nothing ever came of it. Nothing ever happened. And then it's also like, then I realized that the person I was currently at the gym with at the time was one of my perpetrators.
Fuck.
So like everything just clicked, and it was a lot. I went to a lot of counseling after that. But that's another thing on that too. It's like if if any of these definitions are like, and if this is for the people listening more so, it's like if any of those definitions on consent or like you think that any of these situations happen to you, like make sure you talk to someone too. Cause like if it weren't for the fact that I had counseling accessible through my college, like I don't know where I would be today. I don't know if I would be healed and able to talk about it. And like I'm still like feeling like tight in my chest and like anxious talking about it, but it happens to so many people. Like it's like in so many people still to this day, like in especially I talk to like girls all the time and they don't know what consent is even in consensual relationships. Like just because of you're in a consensual relationship does not mean that they can just have it whenever they want.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, we're almost like, yeah, like you're saying, we're almost like taught that that should be fine because we're like, okay, but your boyfriend and you are together, so like you guys can do whatever you, but like you can't. Essentially, I know a lot of, I mean it's happened to myself, it's happened to a lot of girls. So okay, so the first guy, he would do things when you're sleeping. What was the second, was it the second guy? Because there was two, right?
Yeah. So then that was the same thing, but that was more so when like the specific story I have is more so like I was drunk out of my mind. Like I was like
As we've all been, like,
I got a
fuck.
little too lit. It's fine.
Yeah.
Tequila it was calling my name, but I remember like basically like throwing up, like puking, the whole like you drank too many shots, you are now suffering the consequences. One of those messy nights when you get home. And so I was dealing through all that and I was in and out and didn't remember like we've all been like there before where it's
Oh,
like you're
fuck
like, oh,
yeah. Are you
okay, I'm
kidding?
conscious. I want pizza. Oh, I'm out again. Oh, I'm puking again. So I was in that kind of situation. And then he decided that that was the perfect time that he wanted to take advantage of me. Like I was like throwing up and gross, and he thought that was a good time to, yeah.
That's so fucked.
So
And you're so right. Like we've all been there, first of all. We've all had, I mean, I've had multiple fucking nights where the tequila was just calling my name, whatever. We've all been there, and you should be like, you should be fine with your partner. Like you should be able to rely on your partner to like take you home and be safe with them. Like what the fuck?
yeah, like my current partner, like one of the first nights we went out together, we went out dancing. I had one of those nights where I drank too many tequila shots, and instead of raping me as a previous person has done, he held my hair and made sure I was okay. Like that's what you're supposed to do. If someone is unconscious, if someone is throwing up and sick, if someone is not like present, if they're not there and you do like there has to be an inkling in your brain be like, "Oh, they're throwing up. Maybe now's not a time for sex."
Maybe it's not the best
Yeah.
time. Maybe I'm not as horny as I thought I was. What the fuck?
Maybe
Like,
I'll give it 10 minutes, see how she's doing, and then maybe I'll ask. Like just
yeah.
yeah, like if you were unconscious, like it should not happen. Like if you were, it does not matter if you're drinking. It does not mean you are asking for it. It does not give them a free pass just because of, oh, you were drunk. I thought this was okay. But if my head's in the toilet and then I'm like half out, like why is that okay?
Yeah. And also, like, it doesn't make it okay that he's your boyfriend. Like, for anyone listening, it doesn't make it okay that, like, you're throwing up, you're drunk out of your mind, and he's trying to have sex with you, or he is having sex with you. That's so messed up. And, like, it's okay to be mad about that,
Yeah.
I would say. Because you didn't know that at the time either. Like, so you found that out years later. And that's when
Yeah.
you found it at the gym. That's who you were at the gym with.
Yeah, and then it was his sister that was telling me the information that unlocked it. Right? This is some Netflix
Whoa.
series shit, right?
Mind, like, yeah, like, series. Holy shit.
And
So-
I remember like confronting him about the next day because like just like the first time, like I had a gut feeling that something would like that didn't feel like I was involved. Like I didn't feel safe through that.
Yeah.
So I remember confronting him about it the next day, and like he got mad at me. Like I was like, hey, I didn't like that happened. Like I was not okay, and then it happened anyways. I remember saying like this is not okay, and I remember he got mad at me.
Whoa.
So it's like it's deeper than that. It's like not only did you not respect me enough to like make sure I was okay and make sure I was safe, like if your partner should want you to be safe. Your partner should want to make sure like that you are okay and they're putting your best interests forward no matter how you are at. Like whether you're drunk, you're exhausted, you're sleeping, you're entirely sober and just like not in the mood. Like they should be respectful of your wishes and your body.
Yeah, 100%. So when this happened, like, did you have trust issues after that? with all of this, after you found out all of this stuff happening, were you like, or even before you found out, were you like, maybe you were hesitant to sleep or something, or even get super drunk, or like, how did it like affect you that way?
Honestly, I like, well, especially whereas I blacked out like for years.
Mm.
And I was like, and I'm like a little bit of a serial dater. Like I've had a couple periods like throughout college where I've been single for an extended period of time, but I was usually in relationships. I actually found that because like I did go to counseling like after like that had happened, but then anytime like another trigger or another trauma or something else I would go through, then it would restart the cycle. So I actually found like I was more likely to go to alcohol and to abuse that and to make poor decisions in that sense instead of actually like dealing with my shit. So it took me years, and it's still to this day taking me time to heal from that stuff, because of there are still situations where I could be touched the wrong way and all of a sudden that's all that's playing in my head.
Yeah.
Like I can watch 13 Reasons Why and be okay. Like I'm like, and I want to advocate for this, but there are still days where it triggers through my head and I'm useless for the day. Like there are still days where I go to therapy entirely intending on talking about one thing, and I come in and I'm like, and I can't get his face out of my brain.
Oh my God. That's
So it can be rough, and it gets better day by day, but at the same time it's like I'm lucky. Like I think the fact that I was able to black out for like that many years, like that was lucky, because of, even though the fact that those terrible things happened to me, is the fact that I was still able to enjoy my college years, and I was like oblivious and naive to the fact that what had happened to me. But when it did happen, it was a lot of counseling. It was a lot of relying on my friends, and I didn't even know what I was processing for the longest time, because like I said, the Me Too movement, the Harvey Weinstein, everything was going on at the same time. So not only was I processing my own stuff, but I'm also someone who tends to take on a lot of other people's emotions. So whenever like these massive world events happen that are all over the news, I take that in a lot. So when the Me Too movement was happening at the same time, I remember like hearing and reading as many stories as I could and learning as much as I could about it. And it allowed me to help a lot of other people, and being able to have conversations about like what consent is and about that our sexual health matters. But at the same time, it hurts so bad, because I not only had my own pain that I wasn't dealing with correctly yet, but at the same time I was taking on so many other people's pain. And to this day, I still find I do that. I go through those wormholes, those like where I'm just hours reading these stories and just crying like an idiot in my bed and like just relating to them. But it's important, and there's still so many people who don't know.
Yeah, so the Me Too movement, that had a big impact on it, hey? Yeah.
Yeah, especially where like, so like that instance where I was at the gym, and I was getting those messages, like I said, it was happening all at the same time with the news. But at the same time, like it had to happen, and I'm really glad it happened, because of, not only was that made resources way more accessible for me at the time, because it wasn't something that was shared with me before this, really. And all of a sudden it was all over social media, was like, this is what consent is, this is what your health is. It was actually educating the public onto what it is, because we're outraged. Like the fact that stuff like Harvey Weinstein was able to get away with that for years and years, the fact that the people who've done it to me are able, and to this day still able to get away with those things. And there's not a single girl in my life who hasn't been, like who I know personally, who hasn't been assaulted or harassed in some sense.
Yeah. I think that almost every girl that I've talked to, if you bring it up, they will be like, yep. In
Like
some sense. Wait, what's this Harvey? What is this?
Harvey Weinstein, like the casting couch thing.
Oh.
Whereas like they bring actors and actresses in, and the only way they get a role.
Yep.
Yeah, so that like it sparked the whole Me Too movement, and then that's where like all these celebrities are coming forward about what is happening to them. But it also allowed the public, because I remember the Me Too movement was, if you just tweeted Me Too, it was allowing you to say that I survived this without having to share your story, which I
Right.
truly respected.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, because, and also like, I even still think now with all that stuff that happened, it's still, people still hesitate to tell people. People still hesitate to tell their stories, especially if it was in a relationship or if it's currently in a relationship. Because it's like, even if you're currently in a relationship, like if you think back to when you were in the relationship with this guy, like you probably were looking past all this. Like you're like, I felt weird, but I didn't fucking say anything.
Yep.
Because you're like, well, I don't think I should say anything. I don't feel right to say anything. I don't, which is like crazy.
Well, it's
But
like
at the same time,
we're
it makes
raised like
sense.
as women, like it's like, and it's better now. It definitely is better now. But I remember like being told like, oh, like who's your boyfriend, or like you want a prince one day, like as a little girl, and making sure that like he's happy. And so like, and that kind of goes with it. I think we are raised as women to make sure that our partners are happy, and then that goes into our sex life too. So I feel like we are just raised and told that no, this is okay because they're your partner. Like this is your role as a woman to like fulfill the needs of your man, but it's not the case at all. Like we are people too.
Yeah. I'm glad that people are talking more about women. And even when you say that, look at porn. Like literally, because it's like the who's coming? Who's coming every single time? The dude.
Yep.
And it's all about them. The whole thing is half the time they're not even in it, and it's just the girl in it and his dick. And you're just like, what is this?
You're like, sick.
What am I actually watching? Like, yeah.
No, you're entirely right. It's always like the weirdest angles, and it's always just like staring at her. It's like, man, girl, you must be so uncomfortable right now. There's no way you're having a good time right now with all these angles and cameras shoved in all these places. But like, I've never so I am bisexual. So like there are aspects of porn that like I do enjoy because of that aspect, but at the same time, like on more of like the heterosexual side of things, it's like I have never enjoyed like just like girl boy porn or anything like that. It's never for me. It's never has that emotional connection or like that safety to it. It seems just so like angry.
Oh my God. Yeah. 100%.
It's like, why are you so aggressive? Like this is supposed to be fun.
Chill.
Like, why is she crying right now?
No, actually okay, so yeah, now that we're trying to get into like more like women, friendly shit. Yeah. There's actually a porn site for women. I forget what it's called, but it's actually way better. Like there's a story, there's like foreplay. I am like, who the fuck? Why do we not have this years ago? But I think you have to pay for it. Sorry, guys. I don't know what it's called either. But I'm like, oh my God. And we are taught that literally everything is about the guy. And I'm just saying, literally from that perspective, porn. Like 100%. It's just about the guy. And it's frustrating because then men think that way. So like a lot of times they don't even know that like it's also about the fucking woman, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's it's so much harder for us to finish, I think.
Yeah.
Like it's so much harder. And like no, that like, I've heard about the same site when it comes to porn, like for females. Like so my like sister, she's extremely into like smut novels. But I was like, I don't want to read like 500 pages.
Just to get off?
Right? Like that's so much energy. I don't have the time for that. For what, 2 sex scenes? I'm good.
Yeah.
I can put on 50 Shades of Grey or something like that. At least that's made for women.
There's another one on Netflix. I forget what it's called.
Oh, but it's 365?
Like, yeah. One of my friends was like, yo, I'll just throw that on and get off. I won't even watch porn anymore.
That one, I'm not gonna lie, maybe I'm just like really soft or vanilla or something, but that one like was scary. I was like,
I didn't watch it. I have no idea. I've never. What is it?
It's just like I think this is major. I think I'm not really sure what the plot was supposed to be, but he's some warlord, and I think she gets kidnapped. And it's like Stockholm syndrome. I'm fairly sure that's what it's about. I did watch the whole thing, and I was like sitting there the whole time. I was like, does she know that she can't leave? Like. Yeah, so then there's just,
shit.
Yeah, it's
okay. Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's 50 Shades of Grey. We'll be right back.
It's like another level. It's like a little it was like
it
was okay for a Netflix movie, but there was a lot of sex scenes. I will lie. So your friend is correct. Yeah.
So we'll see. I'll have to watch it. We'll see.
But still, that's still like 2 hours though. Who has time for 2 hours?
It is. Yeah. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. So, okay. So, with all of this, what advice would you give if, say, a girl was in a relationship, maybe she's going through the same thing, maybe if she's listening right now, she's not sure what to do. Like, what advice would you give someone that's going through that? Like, if you could go back to, like, your relationship and you had that happening and you weren't quite sure what to do, what advice would you give?
First off, like communication. You need to communicate to your partner. So if like that happened the next morning or like right afterwards, you're like, I didn't feel safe. That didn't feel like it was for me. I didn't feel like that should have happened. You need to communicate with your partner about that. And if your communicate is anything but receptive for it, like that's a problem. That's a red flag. So if your partner is going to get angry at you for speaking up about your feelings and your safety, it's your health. Like our sexual health is still our health. So I do think like, especially if it's like, I'm talking like the non-aggressive being pulled off the street. You're in a consensual relationship. Some similar stories to what I have. communicate with them and let them know like that wasn't okay. If they say anything other than it won't happen again, this is my plan to rectify the situation, to fix this, and I'm so like in apologizing, like you need to leave. They don't respect your body. They don't respect who you are. If they have heard the fact that you're like, I didn't think that should happen. It should not have happened. I did not feel safe. You forced me to do that. And they don't care. They don't care about your feelings. They are planning on probably doing it again. You need to leave because of that is rape. Like that is not a consensual relationship anymore. That's not 50-50. They do not care about your safety and your feelings. They only care about getting off. So that is like the first thing is you need to communicate. You need to talk to them about it, especially if you're not sure. If just make sure you communicate, because at least they're aware of how you're feeling and how you guys can move forward from there. Anything other than that, you need to leave. If it's aggressive, if like not even if it's aggressive, if you feel like you were raped, do something about it. Like I understand it is hard to go to the cops. Like it was not something I felt like I could do like during the time, and it's not something that I felt like I could even get justice for. If you can go to the cops, you can go to a doctor. There's online resources, there's phone numbers you can call. There's so many different resources out there. Talk to a friend, talk to someone about how you're feeling, because rape is rape. It's still illegal. It should not have happened to you. It is not fair that it happened to you. So it's like, you need to do something for it. Talk to a counselor, go to the doctor, go to the police, whatever makes you feel safest and is what's best for you. Make sure you do something, because if you just let it sit idle, it's going to sneak up on you in a couple years, and it's going to take you a lot longer to get through it. And and that goes back to an education piece. Like also, like if you are going to be having sex, make sure you know like everything you can essentially know about it. Know what consent is, know what your limits are, set boundaries with your partner ahead of time. Make sure you are doing everything in place to know that you are well prepared and you know what you're all willing to do, so that when something happens, you can speak up about it. You can actually communicate. And if they ignore you while you're communicating, fight like hell and like call the cops. Do something about it. Like do what you need to do to get out of that situation.
Yeah, because it's not. And so do you feel like you were failed by, I know we're going so off, but do you feel like you were failed by like the education system in that sense?
Oh, entirely.
Yeah.
Entirely. And I understand I moved around a lot. So I do feel like there's some gaps that were just based on the fact that I hit the wrong school at the wrong semester. But especially as a woman, like there's like even if you just go as light as like that second puberty women go through at like 18, 19, 20, where we like actually turn into women. Like when I was like 18, 19, like my boobs got bigger and like my hips got wider. I was never told this was gonna happen. I was wearing like bralettes and sports bras my whole life, and all of a sudden I had to walk into Victoria's Secret. I was not happy about it, but I was never told about it. And the same thing goes on consent. Like just like I was never told what consent was supposed to look like. I was showed in my first year of university like the consent is like T video, and I remember the first time watching it, and I was like, I don't even know what this means. It wasn't until it happened to me that I realized like, oh, don't force someone to drink tea if they don't want tea.
Yeah, I remember being shown that video too, but it meant nothing to me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, you know what they need is they need to like put real real stories and real like life events that would actually fucking happen and be like, that's not okay, or this is okay, or whatever, because we're all trying to learn relationships too. Like, I mean, I was probably in my first relationship when I was like fucking 14, maybe 15.
Yeah.
And it's like, I had no fucking idea what I was doing.
No.
Like, zero idea. So it's like, they need to almost teach us what the fuck we're doing. Kind of, a little bit.
Like 1% more would make, like, could honestly probably save lives at this point in time.
100%.
We've been asking for them to teach us how to do our taxes and to have proper health, like sex education for decades. Like, I remember seeing tweets about this when I was like 13, 14, and Twitter just became a thing. So like, we've been asking for this forever. So I think it's time our educational system actually supports us from all fronts. It's not just about us getting enough steps in a day. It's not about us like knowing our math. Like, we need to be prepared as adults, and like I think like our educational system could do so much more to teach, especially anyone who's been through this. And this isn't just a woman's thing either. Like, we are in like men's mental health month as well, so like this happens to men too. So like ensuring that like everyone is well prepared, everyone knows what the definition, because at the same time, maybe the perpetrator also didn't know the definition and was never taught not to take advantage of someone.
I was gonna say, and I mean, honestly, like, our education system as well as parents, like nothing against any of the way that my parents raised me or whatever.
They did the best they could.
100%. They have one life. They've only raised two children. Like, how do you know? But I do think we're a little bit more open about shit now. And I'm very glad that we are because I think we're learning a lot more. And I think that that's almost what they were missing was like the communication side of stuff, of like teaching us and telling us stuff that was almost difficult to talk about, like sex and like, you know, all of that shit. Everything.
Yeah,
Consent.
there's definitely way less of a taboo around sex with women than there ever was. It's still not great. Like if I were like, we've said the word porn so many times, and I bet you there's like some girl at home be like, oh, don't say that word, which is okay.
Yeah,
we all have our own comfort levels, and that's a-okay. But we definitely are missing a piece. Like throughout my upbringing, like I know my parents did the best they could, like with their experiences and what they are able to provide for me. But at the same time, it would have been nice, and I don't blame them for this. It just would have been nice if I was better prepared for some of the experiences. So maybe I could have done something about it. And that's just like between education or my upbringing, the social circles I had, the freaking like those Canada commercials, like the house hippo. Maybe throw something in there with a metaphor that the adults get and the kids don't. Like throw something in there to show us, like to teach us at a young age, like. And like consent also goes for more than just sex too anyways. It goes for hugs, goes for kisses, goes for like handshakes. Like touching someone else doesn't just have to be about sex. It could be something as simple as literally a tap on the shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the other person not getting defensive when you're like, whoa, I don't want a hug, or whoa, I don't want this. Like I think if we were a little bit more open about communication and a little bit more educated, people wouldn't get so defensive about that because they'd be like, oh, it's your consent. You can say yes or no. I'm not going to get offended by it.
Exactly. Just having a more emotionally intelligent society, like teaching our youth, like from the young age, like what behavior is okay and what is not. And it needs to be like something that's based on our health and safety, not based on religious views or educational views or your background. It should just be solely based on your right as a human being to health, just to be safe. Like that is all we're asking for. We're just asking that our safety isn't taken advantage of, and we just aren't taken advantage of. We're not asking for a lot. We just want a choice.
Just a choice, just safety. That's it. Yeah, 100%.
We're not asking for a lot, guys. Come on.
Just a little bit. Cool. Well, oh my God, do you have any other advice to give any of the girls listening?
Honestly, just make sure you're doing whatever you can to take care of yourself. Whether you've been through something or maybe something happens to you down the road, and I really hope nothing ever happens to you. If you're one of those people that have never been sexually harassed or assaulted, I hope that stays like that for the rest of your life. You were extremely lucky, and just make sure no matter what your trauma is, no matter what you're going through, just make sure you talk to someone. Make sure you do what you can to heal, because of the only way it's actually going to defeat you, what you went through, is if you let it. If you decide to give up and to not push through, to not try and heal, that's when they win. That's when your trauma is going to take over your life. But if you do something every day to make yourself feel better, to heal, to recover, to get past it, it's not that you're trying to forget what happened to you. It's that you're trying to get stronger from it. So just make sure that you're doing everything you can to take care of yourself, because you only have one body and you only have one life, and there's people in your life who would be sad if you weren't around because of it.
Aw, that was like the best ending ever. Oh my God. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and thanks for giving like just all your advice and just everything to my girls, because my following, we love them and I want to keep them safe. So thank you.
No, thank you for having me on. This topic matters. It means something, and we need to be more educated. And if my experiences can help even one person, like I'm more than happy to share them.
Well, thank you so much. Guys, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.